Hello Year 9, we're going to have a go at creating a double exposure photograph using your school shoot and a homework shoot, and this task we are going to be recreating the style of Jasper James. So we're going to turn our school shoot image from this into an image that recreates Jasper James. So let's give it a go. So first of all, we're going to open up our school shoot image. A couple of things we want to do with this is we want to make the background as pale as possible, and we probably want to change the colours a little bit. So we're going to start off by using the quick selection tool. Remember, this is an online program. Photopea is an online program, so sometimes things need to take a little while for the computer to catch up. It needs a lot of RAM, random access memory. So I'm going to click select subject, and it's just going to give a minute to do that. And then what we should see when we've got our subject selected is the marching ants all around our subject here. Okay, so first of all, we want to select the background, and at the moment we've got the subject selected, so we're going to go select and we're going to click inverse, and now you can see the marching ants around the edge of the picture and around the edge of our subject. And then we're going to go image adjustments, we're going to go brightness contrast, and here's our brightness window here. We're just going to lighten up that background. You could also play around with the contrast as well, and hopefully what we should start to see is that background being really, really pale. Okay, so I'm just going to click on OK for that. So now I've got all of the background connected, or selected rather. I'm now going to deselect, and I'm going to add a photo filter. So if you remember, our photo filters are found in our image adjustment menus. I'm just going to click all the way down to photo filter. So we've used these photo filters before. You'll remember that they default to sepia. So I'm going to click on the color swatch, and I want a blue color because a lot of Jasper James's photographs are photographed during blue hour. So that's just before the sun rises or just after the sunset. So I'm going to click on a blue here. And I'm going to select OK, and then I can use my slider to play around with the density and make it more blue or less blue. I could change that hue, so I can make it slightly darker, and again I can play around with the density and then click OK when I'm ready. It's just going to take a minute to do that. Okay, then I'm going to go File, Open and Place, and I'm going to find, I've got two photographs here of city scenes, so I'm going to select this one here and open that. And when it opens, you'll see, because I selected Open and Select, I've already got the handlebars around it. So if I hover and hold, I get a white double-sided arrow, and I can stretch my image. If I have got the black arrow, that means I can curve my image. So we don't really want to do that for this task. So I'm just going to straighten it up, and I just want to stretch my image a little bit so that it fills my screen. So it's a little bit smaller than my original image. I'm just going to stretch it down. And this image I haven't edited at all, but I may wish to, once I've applied the size, I may wish to play around with it a little bit. So I might play around with the exposure, brightness or contrast, or in fact add a photo filter to this as well. So I always go for gamma correction first. Actually gone the wrong way. It's going to say, oh, too much. I want it quite subtle. I'm going to probably take it to about there. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that you can try here. So at the moment, if you remember with Photopea, it's the same as Photoshop, so we've got all of the same desktop. Remember, you should always have your history window open so you can undo things. You should always have your layers window open so you can see which layer you're currently on, and I'm on this layer here because it's highlighted. So with this layer on the top, I can try a couple of different things, and it's going to be down to taste. I can change the opacity, so I can make that layer see-through. And that actually works really nicely for a Jasper James edit. So I can see my subject from my school shoot, double exposed with my homework shoot. I can also play around with the layer selection. So I can try and multiply. Okay, so we can see the image in front, and I can try a screen, which gives a different effect. Okay, we can also try with our background image in front, and again we can play around with the opacity. It gives a slightly different feel. It's quite nice. Or we could play with multiply. Again, that's a little bit too dark for my liking. We can play with screen. That's quite nice. I quite like that, but I don't like the position of my background. So once I've got my background selected, oh, thought I had. Once I've got my background selected, I could just move my background around. It's not going to let me do it. What I wanted to try to do was to move my subject so that we had a bit more colour. So it's a little bit washed out in the sky above her head there. So perhaps I might just kind of rearrange that a little bit so we've got the edge of the building. That's quite nice. You can play around with the different possibilities when you're working on your Jasper James edit. So it's just a little bit slow because of that random access memory, the RAM. I quite like that because you can see the subject's eyes a little bit more. So I'm just going to flatten that because at the moment you can see I've got lots of windows open, and I'm just going to crop that a little bit because I don't want that background in there. And I might take that up a little bit as well, so something like that. And then I can just crop that. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. You can play around and get different outcomes. And we're going to go File, Export as JPEG. Wait for that window to arrive. You can see that it's a real close-up view of what we've been looking at. You might want to name it here. Make sure the format is JPEG and save that, and that goes to your downloads. Okay.